Hi guys, this is Hero, and today I'm going to be discussing the difference between transits, your horoscope placements, and Dashas in Vedic Astrology, okay, or Jyotish. Now, as we may or may not know, Jyotish or Vedic Astrology, it can help us tremendously in, advancing spiritually in this birth, right? Because it shows us kind of our soul's path and like the timings of, when our soul might have to overcome certain obstacles or learn certain lessons that it kind of signed up for this birth. And Vedic astrology can provide us like a great tool in becoming aware of all that, so we can rise higher and higher spiritually. Okay, but transits, horoscope placement, and dashas are three big parts of that like Vedic astrology system. However, they all have their own purpose in that system. Okay, and I'm going to discuss that right here. So to start off with transits, okay, so transits in Vedic astrology, there's 9 planets that we value, okay? Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Rahu, Ketu, okay? 9. They are all in a different sign right now in the sky, okay? And they all have different conjunctions, different aspects. The ascendant is constantly changing, so the energies are constantly dynamic, okay, to say the least. Now, the transits, as far as the changes in the transits, are the same for all of us, okay? So, like, for example, I think today Moon went from Aquarius to Pisces, okay? So that was the same for everybody. Everybody, because everybody at least on Earth right now, okay? Everybody, like the Moon for everybody right now, transit-wise, went from Aquarius to Pisces, okay? Same thing for the Sun. It just went from Virgo to Libra, okay? That's the same for everybody. Not in your horoscope, but at like a transit level, it shifted. Okay, the transits, like I said, they're constantly changing, so they're dynamic. The actual changes are the same for everybody as far as what's happening. Now, the results on how that transit affects you, there's 2 parts to that. There's a general theme, right, that kind of is the same for everybody, right? For example, Moon going from Aquarius to Pisces. Aquarius and Pisces have certain static energies to them so when that happens, and Moon represents mind for everybody. So when that shift happens, there's going to be a certain similar change for everybody. However, Moon might represent a certain thing in your horoscope, and then also Aquarius and Pisces might rule certain houses in your horoscope, that when that change happens, there could be different effects just for you, right? So there's a general theme for everybody as far as a change, and then there's a different change just for you, okay? So there's 2 parts of transit changes that I want to discuss here, right? Like, for example, a lot of people know when there's a full moon, right? Everyone can just kind of feel it. Or some people can feel it more than others based off of different full moons, based off of the sign it's in, etc. So that's an example of how like full moon energies are very strong, but as far as, how much we can all feel it and stuff like that, that depends on our own horoscope, okay? Now, moving on to our own horoscope. So I just described what transits are, okay? They're all the 9 planets and kind of where they are in the sky right now, and how the present moment is like always changing. So that's the same thing with these planets. They're always shifting, they're always dynamic. Your horoscope is static based off of when you were born, okay? So the horoscope is, or the D1 chart I'll talk about in specific right now. So the Lugna chart is basically just the transits that are going on right when you were born. It's like a screenshot or a snapshot of that. Okay, so it's like Mercury in Virgo, Sun in Aries, whatever the placements were. Actually, that's not even possible because the Mercury can only be a certain distance from the Sun. But let's just say Sun in Aries and Mercury in Aries too. Okay, let's just make that up. So whatever the placements were at that time, it's basically just showing what planets were in what sign right when you were born. Okay, and then it also shows what planets or what signs occupied what houses, and that's also based off of the exact time you were born. That's why the exact time is critical in determining this, okay? Also, the exact time not only does it affect your D1 ascendant or your Lugna ascendant, it affects all the ascendants for your divisional charts, okay? Your divisional charts basically, I'll create another video on this later more specifically, but your divisional chart kind of at a glance will show you more specific results for different aspects of your life depending on which divisional chart it is, okay? But we'll just focus on the D1 chart for right now. So the D1 chart is just a snapshot of what the transits look like right when you were born, okay? Now, as we know, transits, their energies impact all of us, okay? So the energies that were occurring right when you were born, those are static kind of to you, okay? So like I said, the Sun and Mercury, in Aries, that's kind of like now there could be a bunch of people with Sun and Mercury in Aries, right? But like there's all kinds of placements, right? And the degrees are different. All this, there's all kinds of components. It's not just those two that I just said. I was just kind of, saying an example, but there's a bunch of components that comprise of your unique horoscope, right? So yeah, like I said, your own horoscope is your own unique energies or the transits that were occurring right when you were born, okay? So we have general transits, which are dynamic, and as far as what the transits are like in the present moment, it's the same for everybody. However, the effects can differ slightly from person to person. Also, the effects of transits can be based off of Dashas, which I'll explain in a second. We have your horoscope, which is static, and that's basically unique to you, your horoscope, okay? No matter how similar you think your horoscope is to someone else, even if you're a twin, there's some difference, okay? And I've looked at this myself, okay? I've seen people with two very similar horoscopes or twins, and there's some difference, okay? And that difference will get highlighted, especially during your Dasha period. Now, I will tell you, I'll talk about the third point with the Dashas. So Dashas is the secret of Vedic astrology, okay? So for this video's purpose, I'm going to be discussing the Vimshottari Dasha system, okay? So there's many different Dasha systems, just to go on a slight tangent here. What Dasha systems are is like, they're basically like period systems where certain planets have a certain influence on you, okay? Now, which Dasha system you want to associate with or believe in, or Dasha systems, I'll leave that up to you, okay? But right now, I think the Vimshottari Dasha system is one of the more common used ones. I'll talk just about that, okay? So the way that one works is at a fundamental level, there's three levels to it. There's the Mahadasha, there's the Antardasha, and there's the Pratyantardasha, okay? Don't get caught up in the names. They're basically just the Mahadasha is like the main period. Antardasha is the sub period within that main period. And then the Pratyantardasha is the sub period within that Antardasha. Okay. Now, there's a certain order. Okay. The order does not change. It goes Ketu, Venus, Sun, Moon, Mars, Rahu, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury, okay? Each one rules a certain amount of time, okay? If I'm correct, it's like Ketu 7 years, Venus 20, Sun I want to say 6, Moon 10, Mars I want to say 7, Rahu is like 18, Jupiter is 16, Saturn is 19, and Mercury is 17, okay? So there's a certain order. So like I said, the whole system is 120 years. Now, where in that like cycle you start, that depends on your moon placement, okay? So your moon, whatever nakshatra it was in, that nakshatra lord is the dasha system that occurs when you were born, okay? Now, you don't automatically just start at the beginning of that dasha system. Of that dasha period, right? So for example, let's just say you were born in, your moon was in Rohini Nakshatra when you were born, okay? Rohini, I am almost certain, is ruled by moon, okay? So that doesn't mean, okay, no matter where you were born in Rohini, you start automatically at the beginning of the moon dasha. That's not how, Mahadasha, that's not how it works. Depending on where exactly you were in the Rohini nakshatra, like what exact degree and how exactly much percentage you were in, that's how much percentage in you start in your moon, so in your moon Mahadasha. So you don't just start automatically right at the beginning or like halfway or whatever. You start exactly proportional to how much you completed your moon into that nakshatra of that planet, of that like the uh of that nakshatra lord. Okay, so like based off of the nakshatra your moon was in, based off of how much it was in that nakshatra, that nakshatra lord, that's obviously the mahadasha you start with. The percentage your moon was in that nakshatra, that's how much in you start in your dasha in that nakshatra lord's mahadasha. Okay, so you have a mahadasha, an antardasha, and pratyantardasha. Okay, these are all basically just okay. Once you start your mahadasha, depending on how far in you were, you'd start at a certain antardasha and pratyantardasha. Okay, and this constantly keeps on changing. It's a same static path. As far as timings, as soon as you figure out the exact starting point of your dasha system right when you were born. Okay, now dashas, they, for example, right? Let's just say Mahadasha, for example. So your Mahadasha will, let's just say you, like I said, you started with Moon's Mahadasha. So your moon, your horoscope is your unique energies, right? And the transits is how the energies are changing all around us. Your Dasha system basically says, okay, I'm putting the focus on this planet. Okay? So not only the transits, but also your horoscope, both of them. The moon is kind of like highlighted. It's like the results, your how they affect you mentally, externally, internally, everything. All of the stuff related to moon is highlighted. Okay, so let's just say you had moon mahadasha, right? So your moon is highlighted. And then also you have an antardasha and pratyantardasha. So they're highlighted, but not as much. Okay, so the antardasha is highlighted just a little bit like less than the mahadasha, and the pratyantardasha is highlighted like a little bit less than the antardasha, right? But all three of them, they're kind of, their effect is more prominent in your in those respective periods. Okay, at a transit level and at a horoscope level. So let's just say you had moon mahadasha, so that's highlighted the most when it comes to transits and horoscopes. Then let's just say at an antardasha level you were running Jupiter, so your Jupiter is highlighted not as much as moon, but still a good amount for your transit and your horoscope. And then let's just say pratyantardasha, you're running Mercury. It's highlighted less than Jupiter, but it's still highlighted more. It's less than Jupiter and moon, but it's highlighted less than, it's highlighted more than all the other planets in also your transits and your horoscope. Okay, so that's basically a quick little simple gist of how the transits, your own horoscope and dashas kind of all relate to each other. And so I talked about how dashas relate to both your horoscope and transit, but I didn't really talk too much about how your transits itself affect your horoscope. So the way that kind of works on a very simple gist is that, like I said, there's a common effect and that there's an effect more unique to you. Okay, so the common effect is that, like, let's just say moon going from Aquarius to Pisces, there's a certain general theme that's the same for all of us, right? Because Aquarius and Pisces represents something for all of us. Moon represents something for all of us, which is mind, okay? Aquarius and Pisces, they have certain energies that don't change. However, in your chart, it could represent something, different than, somebody else. And that's where the changes come from transits as well, right? But the dashas, if you're running the dasha of moon, your effects are going to be a lot more prominent than somebody, like if there's a moon change, the moon sign change, your effects are going to be a lot more, you're going to notice them a lot more than someone who's not running the dasha of moon, right? So if you're running a Jupiter Mahadasha and Jupiter changes signs, or Jupiter goes retrograde, or Jupiter gets conjunct something, or Jupiter aspects something, or gets aspected by something, you're going to notice it a lot more than someone who's not running a Jupiter Mahadasha, Antardasha, or Pratyantardasha, right? Or even if you're running a Jupiter Mahadasha and somebody else is running a Jupiter Antardasha, you're going to notice it probably more than the person who's running the Yanta Dasha. But the person with the Yanta Dasha is going to notice it more than the person most likely running the Pratyanta Dasha. And all three of you guys are going to notice it more than people who aren't running any kind of Dasha of Jupiter, okay? But like I said, that like if Jupiter, there's mixed results when it comes to this Vedic astrology, okay? So like, for example, let's just say someone's not running any transit of Jupiter. I mean, Dasha of Jupiter, Mahadasha, Antardasha, Pradyanta Dasha, but Jupiter is it's their sign lord, or their nakshatra, it's their ascendant, excuse me, the ascendant sign lord, or the ascendant nakshatra lord, and it's not for any of you three. There's going to be a different effect on how all of you guys are going to notice it, okay? Now that effect, specific effect, it's so different from person to person. You'd have to look at your own horoscope, and it takes a lot of time to notice that, or you would have to have somebody like look at it to tell you the specific result of how a certain dasha or transit will affect you, okay? So that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys learned kind of at a basic level the difference between transits, your own horoscope, and dashas, and how they all correlate to each other to tell you about you know, your own journey, your own soul's journey, and how that's kind of shown through Vedic astrology, okay? So thank you guys for watching, and until next time, see you guys later. Thank you.